the Photography Online podcast, in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.
Coming up on this month's podcast, we discuss the controversial case of the amateur photographers issued with official warnings, and debate if authorship really matters when it comes to world-changing photographs. James and reigning champion Harry go head-to-head in our pop quiz, and we check out a superb new budget-priced prime lens and decide if the world really needs the latest iteration of the DJI Mavic series of drones.
And now, please welcome your panellists. A man who thought a lover's tiff was a format setting in his camera's menu system. It's James McCormick.
Well, menu systems.
And a man who thought ISO was a pension investment scheme. It's Harry Martin.
Who needs a pension anyway, huh?
And here to keep them both in check, a woman I'm told needs no introduction.
And there it is. Thank you. As ever, welcome to our June podcast. I am Ruth, your host of the podcast, of Photography Online, the YouTube show as well. This month, delighted to have James and Harry in the podcast studio with us, fresh back from running our PO adventure in Namibia. I was just saying to them both before we started, well, I didn't say to James actually, but Harry looking slightly tanned, or tan if you're in the US, slightly tanned. James also as well. I don't know if it's your new t-shirt offsetting the colour, James, or if you actually got a tan as well, but both looking rather freshly shaven. I've just noticed, James. You got rid of the stubble.
Freshly shaven, and some no tan lines, Ruth. No tan lines.
Did you shave it before Namibia for that reason?
No, I came back fully bearded.
Yeah, looking slightly homeless.
Yeah. Well, Harry, having spent a couple of weeks with you, there was no time to shave.
No time to sit down. It was an incredibly full schedule, but. Oh, just incredible. I'm counting the days until we can go back already. So
you're looking slightly healthier, Harry, because my understanding was that you had a bit of a blip mid-trip. What happened?
Yeah, a blip's a kind way to put it. I mean, I think it was a combination of probably dehydration, really long drives. James and I were doing all the driving, and we'd had a few really long days already, and my body just, I think, said no.
Crashed.
And crashed for 24 hours. And luckily it was the only time where we didn't have to do any significant driving for the guests. And we were able, James was able to man the wheel.
James picked up the slack.
Yeah, and take control of the situation, because I don't even remember him coming into my room in the morning.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, and I was kind of all over the place, so better I stayed in bed.
Listen, Ruth, there's nothing a couple of Baroccas and the effervescent vitamin C's, and I did get you a takeaway. I got you some greasy chips. I thought that might make you feel better.
Yeah, they didn't get eaten, unfortunately, but it's the thought that matters.
No, listen, Ruth, he was very unwell, so I threw some food in the door and then cleared off to the sand dunes with the guests to have a nice time. Then we had a great day without you.
Very wise. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Even so, I'm glad I'm quite a few miles away from you and not actually face to face. But anyway, let's move on with the podcast. We're going to do our usual a few news stories to start off this month. Story number one, James, I'm going to throw over to you with this. What have we got?
So it's about the very, very, very famous picture taken by Nick Ut of the Napalm Girl in Vietnam, a picture that changed the history of the Vietnam War, changed photojournalism, forever changed many, many things, including American foreign policy. And the story is about who actually took the picture and who gets the credit with it. Now, it's been rumbling on for quite a while, this. The World Press Photo Organisation has suspended crediting the photographer who claims to have taken the picture. I'm not sure why they get to suspend something that's not theirs anyway, to suspend. It's not that they don't own that image. But ultimately, it's a little bit boring, the story of who took the picture. Now, I understand that the photographers themselves want credit for it. I can understand it from that point of view, and even slightly darkly from a financial point of view. But ultimately, the story's not really about that. It's about the little girl, and it's about the actual picture, and it's about the fact that picture was never censored. It got out into the wild. It's still not censored to this day, happily so, because it's a tremendously important image, probably one of the most important images that's ever been taken, and who actually took it is completely irrelevant to the wider world. There's also occasions, actually, and Harry will back me up on this, and obviously not such important pictures to put it mildly, but we regularly have pictures and we don't know who's taken them. And certainly in the days when Marcus and I used to shoot commercially together a lot, we don't know who took those pictures either.
I mean, one of the main things I think on this is it's not digital, obviously. So people are debating between three potential authors. It's such a famous image, like you say, people want the attribution, but because it's analog, because it was 50 years ago, I don't even know if the photographers in question are still alive. I'm imagining maybe some of them aren't.
One or two of them are, I believe. Yeah, I don't know for fact that all three are. Yeah.
Yeah, but attribution in an analog age where there's controversy surrounding it is one of those things you can't, like they said in the article, you can't really ever come to a conclusion about. It's just a case of deciding with the evidence.
No. And why do you need to?
If you took a photograph that was famous, if James, one day you take a photograph that people get out into the world and think that's really good, and someone says Marcus took that, I mean, how would you feel? Or Harry, because there was three people involved. I mean, is that not the point here? I
wouldn't give a hoot.
You wouldn't be bothered, really?
I mean, financially, maybe, but this picture is so important that the financial side of it shouldn't really come into it.
I think that's the biggest issue, is money, really, isn't it? It's, you know, if that was me and I'm relying on the income from something like that, that's a bigger deal. But at the end of the day, I think most photographers, even if they won't admit it, have an ego, and they need that to be stroked, and they need that recognition, and that's what this will boil down to a little bit as well. You know, people want the credit for something so important and to have their name remembered.
It wouldn't surprise me, Ruth, if the people concerned genuinely don't know who took that picture at that minute.
Well, that's what it seems to me, because I'm curious, there's no actual response from family or from the photographers themselves saying, I took this. There's nothing about that in there. So there obviously is some genuine confusion.
And the other thing is that the stringer of the film regarding it, it's no... You know, it doesn't do them any harm to have this controversy out there. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything, but, you know, come on. You know, really, of all the times to debating these things. But the bottom line is, Ruth, with this, it really doesn't matter who took this picture. I know it might matter to the individual photographers, but there's a much bigger picture, if you pardon the appalling pun, at play here.
Well, if you're interested, as James mentioned, the documentary that kind of led to the controversy surrounding this is called The Stringer. It's just apparently aired at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's not out for public consumption yet. Once it is, I'm sure it's going to be pretty, people are going to be looking at that in some detail. Photographers anyway, so if you're interested, do check that out. Again, links in the show notes. I don't know if this was taken on a Leica or not, guys, but the next story, we've talked a wee bit about the tariffs in the US, things like that affecting photography gear. We had a story that I had kind of stuck in here a few days before another story came out, all about price hikes, things like that. And obviously a week later things had changed, the situation had changed. Harry, just explain to people what's been going on with the price hikes and price whatever the opposite of hikes is. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Before Harry goes with that, I'd just like to wish him good luck.
Throw to the obvious expert on American and worldwide politics, Harry Martin. No, it's obviously there's been a lot going on with these tariffs, and I don't particularly keep up with a lot of the news other than stuff like this that I see every so often. And so the tariffs on countries such as China just escalated and increased exponentially. And so for any products that were being manufactured in China, the price that then had to be charged in the States just doubled, and in some cases more, overnight. And that's what happened with that well-known budget brand Leica, a couple of their new launches and products. So it's worth remembering that not all of Leica's cameras are produced in China. Some are still handmade in factories in Europe, but they have a few products which are manufactured in China, including the new Deluxe 8, which is a new version of one of the older cameras. And when that launched last year, it went on sale for about $1,600, which was already more expensive than the previous model. But when the new tariffs were announced, the price went up to $2,800.
Wow.
So it did double, which is just eye-watering. You know, they say Leicas are not cheap to begin with. That happened with a couple of different products. There's a phone grip, which I think went up about 90% in price. And then, of course, as you say, about a week later, some of those price hikes and tariffs, there was just a U-turn on them. And so the price then dropped. So while that price is still higher than it originally was, we're only looking between 10 to 15% higher than previous year's prices, rather than the 90 to 100% prices that we did have. I mean, when I saw how much they went up, it was bonkers. And I just have to be glad that products like Canon and Nikon are produced in Japan rather than China, because if those sorts of prices then impacted and got reflected in the UK market, we're already priced out of some of the top end gear as professionals. They're not priced for working people, and to pay sort of 100, 200% more for just a camera or a lens is pretty crazy. So it's stabilized for now, but who knows at the moment whether things will just...
I think in essence, Ruth, you could, if you wish, as you're the queen of this podcast, make this a monthly feature and we can just update people. Or that would just be so incredibly boring that we could just...
turn this into a financial podcast.
Well, because it changes every month.
Well, we might get more listeners. I mean, Leica's official statement was just, it will continue to evaluate and adjust pricing accordingly. So...
I suppose the danger there, I mean, we work with some Leica groups who have independent shops. I imagine lots of customers will stop buying in the interim because they expect the prices to either go up or to go down. So I imagine there'll be some sort of on the ground fallout for those kind of people as well. Possibly. But anyway, like I say, people can get more information on that if they want to. We usually do a selfie-related story. This isn't quite selfie-related, and James isn't overly impressed by the inclusion of it. However, he's going to fake some excitement. Not that it's anything to be excited by, but we've got a rather gruesome episode with another tourist trying to get an image. What's happened, James?
Oh, you're talking about the Colosseum and my dismay that has been included.
Yeah.
Because, you're right, because you threw me when it wasn't a selfie. I actually misread it when I was reading the story. I thought they were trying to get a selfie, but no, they were trying to get a picture of the Colosseum itself, I presume, because I lost interest within 5 seconds of your link, Ruth.
Honestly, James.
I know, I can only apologise. but basically, someone was trying to take a picture of the Colosseum, fell on a fence, spiked themselves, bled all over the place, ruined an ancient monument, was rescued, but they are okay, luckily. So, I don't know, it goes back to that whole Darwinism thing, really, as far as I'm concerned. So, be sensible if you're out there, folks, taking pictures. Don't lean on spiked railings. Having said that, Harry and I nearly fell out of a hot air balloon a couple of weeks ago. So we were dragged along the ground.
I did see some video footage of this landing. Do you land on your backs?
Well, so as you come down, you start to bump on the ground, and then as you land, and he effectively rips a hole in the top of the balloon to let out all the hot air, and the basket will slowly tip over, and so you end up sort of braced and lying on your back as you land, all safely, and you're not jolted around or anything.
All controlled, yeah.
But the video made it look a lot worse than it was, and it's all quite civilized and comfortable.
So there we go. So maybe one day I myself will feature in this section of idiots that have hurt themselves.
We can hope, can't we?
And there's a great quote. It was terrible, an eyewitness explained. I saw the man impaled on a railing, bleeding out. Wow, I'm sure that was terrible. I hope they got a good shot anyway, and I hope it wasn't in black and white.
All right, well, let's move on to a story that has actually been of some interest this week. Certainly in the UK, it's been doing the round. It's been on the news websites. It's been on radio as well. I think it's been discussed on national radio stations. Story number 4, Harry. This is a really interesting one. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so there's a well-known section of road down in England called Fish Hill, and it's been long known for an area where people can get good photographs of predominantly motorcycles. I mean, they'll also shoot sports cars near there, but the issue has arisen where a group of photographers who will often publicise that they're going to be in the area and taking pictures, and it's escalated to where tens and hundreds of motorcyclists end up on that road during the day. So not only have you got a big noise issue for local residents, you've got potential accidents, bikers speeding or pulling wheelies, but in a strange, to me at least, incredibly bizarre turn, the group of photographers, the British photographers, have been issued what do they call it?
An ASBO?
It would have been an ASBO in the old days. Yes,
yeah, it's changed. It's a CPNW. Can't remember what that's.
A Community Protection Notice Warning.
Yeah. So
I've got dozens of them personally.
But so basically, they have been, and these notices are to combat what's known as antisocial behaviour. So it would normally be given to vandals or people creating, public nuisances and things like that. And so they've issued these photographers and have declared that action will escalate if they do continue to head to this spot and photograph. So I understand that there might be accidents and things like that, but so rather than doing the sensible thing and trying to target motorcyclists and road users who are being irresponsible and causing the accidents, because it's not the photographers that are causing the accidents.
But is the point here, Harry, not that the photographers are publicising they're going to be there and therefore the motorcyclists are then coming because of that, as opposed to they see the cyclist going and they arrive? I think the point is that because they know there's going to be publicity around it, they go, they pull wheelies, they try and get in the photographs.
Yeah.
And so the police are thereby blaming the photographers for the influx of motorcyclists.
It's just a blame game here. But the photographers aren't there saying, right, we're here, come and pay us, we're going to take a load of pictures for you and whatnot. They're simply...
The photographers are selling the pictures, Harry, but what they're not doing in any way, shape or form, and even I believe the police aren't accusing them of encouraging dangerous driving or riding.
No, and of course, one of the main photographer of the group and says they obviously don't take any responsibility for the behaviour of road users, which is obviously true. So it's just a sort of an odd, bizarre legal situation where kind of second-hand the photographers are being blamed for this issue.
Well, we had an email that came through, Harry, from, I won't name him because I don't think that would be fair, but he was an ex-police officer, and I know him to be an ex-police officer as well. So, and he says it's a vast overreach from the police to be issuing this. Now, from those, I believe it's 2 officers that issued the notice, but the inspector would have signed off on the issuing of these notice, and it is absolutely appalling that the police are choosing to do this.
Yeah.
And I hope the 2 photographers concerned take this to court, because it's not gone to court yet. It's just it's basically a bit of paper that says stay away. But it'll only go to court if they choose to return to the place and the police choose to pursue it, or they choose to challenge this CPNW, which I hope they do, because they will win. And I hope that inspector is fired for total overreach and appalling abuse of power and terrible, terrible misjudgment. Now, everybody makes mistakes in their work, and I'm a huge fan of the police. They have the hardest job in the country, bar none, but there is no excuse for this. I mean, come on, sort yourselves out.
This is the equivalent, James, of, if people might remember, you did a feature when we were out in Cuba and you were at the roadside, you were shooting the kind of fancy classic cars going past. This is the equivalent of the police getting in touch with you and blaming you for the kind of upsurge in fancy cars going past people,
Yes.
not dressed appropriately or whatever. That's kind of what this is, and it's I've never heard anything quite like it before.
It is exactly that. It's not unusual. I mean, because as you know, I do commercially, I work in predominantly London, but other cities, and it's not unusual to get stopped by the police. I remember on general election day, which would have been a year ago, I think, actually, wouldn't it? So a year ago, almost to the day, that I was photographing an area of London, nothing to do with the election, but just for a property development company and the gentrification of this particular area and showing it. And I walked past a polling station and a policeman ran across and said, "You can't have your camera out." No, I can, actually, and I can photograph the polling station if I wish. Now, don't be so silly, officer. So he might have got both barrels, and I told him to radio his sergeant and ask, and he did actually apologise, but which is fair enough. But in essence, if you are out and about in London and taking pictures, taking around the street, you will get approached by police quite often. I can remember an instance passing by the embassy of Saudi Arabia, and that's fine. Come over, why are you doing it? And if you're polite and you've got reason and you're not breaking the law and they just want to chat and just feel reassured themselves as police officers, I don't have an issue with that at all. And I really don't. And I would encourage all photographers not to be stroppy back, but to answer the questions. It's no big deal. Just have a conversation, explain what you're doing. You don't have to by law, but what's the harm in being polite both ways? And in essence, that's what really should have happened in this issue. But to blame these photographers for other people's bad driving is just so silly and lazy coppering.
It must have been a pretty shocking moment to get letters through your door of what I assume are otherwise law-abiding photographers, basically blaming you of an offence like that.
Yeah, we have to take everybody at their word on this. But yes, the police aren't accusing them of anything other than standing there and thereby encouraging bad behaviour. Yeah.
All right, well, we will update you because I'm sure there'll be more rumbling on with that on the next podcast or whenever it changes or updates. We're going to finish off with a story that is a little bit more light, shall we say. I came across this one. I thought it was quite funny. James, do you want to explain what's happened here with the destruction of equipment, which we're very familiar with ourselves, but I don't think we've ever done it quite this way.
No, I don't think we have, because I don't think any of us would be a true enough shot. No, apparently on a film, you're going to have to help me out here, Harry. So it's a film trilogy or something called Blade. I'm
so grateful you do your research, honestly.
I've done the research. I just don't know what Blade is. I mean, I know that I think...
That's right. It's a film.
It's a film, but it's a series of films, isn't it? So I don't watch things like that. Too busy working. But anyway, an actress called Jessica Biel apparently was so skilled with a bow and arrow that she managed to fire. She was doing a shot straight down the barrel of the lens, firing an arrow straight at the lens, which is quite a common thing to do in movies and stills. And in fact, it reminds me, Marcus and I took a picture showing a scope with a chap in Alaska once, pointing a rifle straight at the camera. So we did check the chamber was empty before doing it. But anyway, in this instance, this lady, Jessica Biel, fires an arrow directly at the camera, and in order for safety reasons, they'd erected sort of plastic screens or polyplate screens all around the camera, apart from, a 2x2 inch hole for the lens to sort of stick through. And I'm guessing they were thinking she wouldn't actually fire the arrow straight through the hole, but she did, and apparently it wrote off a £300,000.
That's a bill, wow.
So that's quite a bill. But if you read the article, it says that they destroyed many cameras during this particular movie, and luckily they have insurance to cover it.
I bet the insurance company was pleased with them.
Yeah, I'm not sure the insurance company will be too keen, and the next time Miss Beale's in a movie, I reckon the premiums might just go up a little bit more. But apparently it's because she's such a deadeye, so there you go.
I love how this has resurfaced, because that film is 20 years old, 2000.
No, they must be remaking it. There must be. That's why I was asking you for your youthful expertise.
Well, the one that she shot, this, because I remember the scene. This is Blade Trinity, and it would have been early 2000s. And I don't know, it's just one of those odd things that obviously somebody's got a piece of video footage and decided to re-upload it, and it's gone mildly viral. But it's great. I love a good camera destruction video and scene, so maybe we should try it sometime.
Yeah, we should. I mean, the key to it is that you shouldn't have the camera square on anyway. You should film it at a 45-degree angle and film it on a mirror. No, that's what you do.
Nobody expects an actress from many, many, many meters away to fire an arrow in a 2-inch gap. I think there was a thing in the article that said...
No, but it's standard practice. Put it at 45 degrees and use a mirror. That's what you do. It's been done for centuries.
You tell the producers then, James, who obviously don't know what they're doing, what the proper way is of filmmaking.
Well, clearly they don't know what they're doing if they've written off a 300 grand camera.
Anyway, you can get more information on any of those news stories if you choose to in the show description, in the notes. Just have a wee look down there. We've got links to all the stories we've put there, and also all the gear items that are coming up towards the end of the podcast. But we are going to move on to my very favourite part of the podcast.
The Photography Online Podcast Quiz.
Yeah, welcome back to the Pop Quiz. It's the Photography Online podcast quiz where I ask our two panellists 5 photography-related questions. You guys can, of course, play along at home, as well as the answers wouldn't be revealed until the end. Now, Harry has won both of his quizzes so far. Reigning champion, actually, yeah. James has won 1 and lost 1, so not too bad. All to play for, I think.
No, but I was cheated out of that, as you well know.
You as well. You and Marcus, honestly.
Such sore losers.
Go back through the archive, listeners. Go through the archive. Listen back. You'll see that I was cheated.
There will be 5 rounds, each one being worth a point for the correct or closest answer. In the event of a tie, you both receive a point. I forgot to write. I need to get my notepad out and make a wee list actually of questions because I need to keep notes of who's actually won this. Here we go. Super quick, in real time. Number 5.
We're going to have to write this down, aren't we? I need a bit of paper. Hang on.
Yeah, I would recommend, because we've had allegations before of the first person to answer affecting the next person's answer, which of course we do not want. We're all about truth and honesty here on the podcast. So if you can write it down, not that I don't trust you, but just so we don't have
back of an expenses receipt. That'll do.
But more allegations in the next podcast. Okay, so the winner gets nothing at all, except my glowing praise, of course. So let's start off.
Round 1. Multiple choice.
All right, this round I'm going to ask a question which is quite difficult, and so to help you out, there are 4 possible answers. All I need you to do is tell me which answer you think is correct. Here is the question. The Nikon F5 was a flagship camera, film camera, released in 1996. It boasted the fastest frame rate of any 35mm camera at the time. How many frames per second could it achieve? 4, 6, 8 or 10?
This isn't fair. I mean, didn't you own one of those, James?
Do you know what, Ruth? It was one of the last film cameras I ever bought, that.
Yeah. I think it was one of the last film cameras they actually produced, Nikon.
Oh, was it?
As far as I'm aware.
The last, professional grade at least, I would imagine, 1996. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so 4, 6, 8 or 10. James looking slightly confused, to be expected generally, but...
Well, no, because it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's just the body, right?
Here we go.
No.
Here we go.
Pick an answer, give us your working afterwards. You got something? No? Yes?
All right, I've written it.
All right, okay, let's move on.
Round 2. Name the year.
Right, round 2, name the year. In this round, the answer to the question is a year. The round goes to whoever gets the closest answer. But if you get the exact year, you will get a bonus point. Okay, here's the question. And Harry, don't say it's unfair. After 74 years of production, Kodak stopped manufacturing its classic Kodachrome film in which year? I told you it was a difficult one.
Oh, do you remember those days? Do you remember those days, you two? You get it and you could post it off and it had its own little self-seal envelope. You don't remember either of you, do you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do remember.
I do remember, yeah. Of course I do.
You do, yeah.
Used to come through the mail
Ruth might remember, Harry might not.
Well, I mean, mine wasn't Kodachrome because I know that they'd stopped by the time I was shooting film.
So it's closest to, remember, you don't have to get exact, closest to, but you can get 2 points if you get.
Oh, this is hard.
It's not supposed to be easy, young Harry.
No,
He's writing something furiously. James is writing.
So am I, yeah.
Bit of a script by the looks of it.
I'm going for the year that we retained the Ashes. But not retained, won for the first time. Right. And the Ashes, for those that are listening in America, is the most important tournament in the world. So Google it.
Of the dullest sport in the world. All right, let's move on to round 3.
Round 3. Artificial intelligence.
All right, guys, in this round I asked ChatGPT to describe a photographic object, person, or practice without mentioning the name of the subject. I need you to tell me what I asked it to talk about. So pay attention, here we go.
They come but once, a fleeting guest, with silent gaze and formal quest. They summon smiles both real and thin, and freeze the face, the soul within. Their work lives on in frames and drawers, a treasure kept behind closed doors. Who captures youth in one brief glance, then leaves without a second chance.
Honestly, the dawning of the light in Harry, just on that second to last line, was remarkable to watch.
And what is it we're looking for? What do I need to write down?
It's a photographic... It can be a photograph, a type of photographer. It can be a photographic thing, like an object. It can be a subject. It's any of those things. And AI has decided to give you a riddle to describe what it is. You got something?
It was a bit creepy. It was very creepy.
I mean, they're all creepy. So this is ChatGPT for you. Let's move on.
Round 4. Take a wild guess.
Alrighty, well, as the name suggests, this round requires an answer which could be almost anything, so you're unlikely to get it exact. You will need to take a wild guess. As with round 2, the point goes to whoever gets the closest to the answer. Although unlikely, if you do get the exact one, there are 2 bonus points. Here is the question. Take a wild guess. The world's most expensive camera is generally accepted as being the Leica O series camera, number 105, of which only 25 were made. How much was it sold for at auction in 2022? And I need that answer in euros, please.
Is this before or after US price hikes?
This is before US price hikes, and it was an auction.
I have absolutely no idea. Did we not ask this before, by the way? Have we not had this question before?
If so, you should have some sort of idea.
No, it was the most expensive artwork photograph, what that sold for.
Oh, was it?
That was a few months ago,
Good job. Somebody remembers what's going on. I need to write a number down, don't I?
Ideally...
I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue.
This is the picture. I know you guys can't see these two, but this is the picture of a wild guess faces, just like hands in the air. Like, just choose something. Just pick something out of the air. You both got something written down?
All right, I've written down a number. Yeah. I can imagine. You said it was a limited edition or something, didn't you? It was one of something.
Well, there was only 25 of them ever made.
And it's got that little red dot on it, hasn't it? So it's a Leica. So somebody will have been silly and paid a lot of money for it.
All right, let's move on to the final round.
Round 5. Where in the world?
Okay, well, this final round, as we always say, is a geography question as much as a photography one, but the location will typically be a well-known hotspot for photography. So here is the question. This is one of the most photographed buildings in the world. It has over 80 entrances and was built on an artificial lake. It's estimated around 400,000 people have died here, but where is it? Where in the world?
It's the lake that's thrown me. Built on an artificial lake.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an idea. Do I have to get the spelling right?
You do not, James.
I think he's
you have
written
to
the
just
same
say
as
it to me. All right, you got answers for all of this?
Do, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you're ready, we will go through and let's see how you guys got on. Round 1 was the Nikon F5 flagship camera, which was released in '96, the fastest frame rate of any 35mm camera at the time. 4, 6, 8 or 10, how many frames per second could it achieve? Harry?
I went for 8.
It is 8.
Is it 8? Because that was just sort of middling. I thought, well, it's not going to be 4 or 6 because it's got to be quite impressive, but I don't think any film camera ever reached, over 10 or anything. So that was...
Okay, you're both right. It was 8. So you both get the point for that. It was Nikon's last professional camera, as we said. There was, I think, a F6 version released after that, but it was kind of like the R6 to the R5. Powered by 8 AA batteries. And you could also shoot video on it, apparently, albeit only about 4 seconds worth and rather choppy with the 8 frames per second. Manual shutter priority, aperture priority, and programmed auto exposure modes. So it was a really popular camera all round. James, did you say you had one?
It was the last Nikon I ever used, and then I switched to Canon for autofocus reasons around about that time.
Okay, well done. You both got the point on that one. Round 2 was name the year. In what year did Kodak stop manufacturing its classic Kodachrome film? What do we have? Go for James first on this.
I just went for 2005 because it was, as I said, the year that England finally beat Australia in the Ashes. And I hope that momentous moment was recorded on film as opposed to digital.
I've written exactly the same, 2005.
You're such a scallywag.
I didn't see, or look, you could see there's no crossing out or anything.
Oh, you're showing him the rest of your answers. You're showing him the as well. Well, that makes it rather sticky because you both give me the same answer. So how am I supposed to grade this, chaps? Is one of you willing to negotiate? One of you willing to move?
Oh, is that both wrong?
I will tell you that you're both wrong.
I will go to 2006 because it was the year my son was born.
Okay. Harry, would you like to make a change or would you like to stick with your wrong answer?
I'm going to go one down to 2004 then. Sod it.
Okay, so unfortunately in that case, Harry, James wins. It was 2009 when Kodak stopped manufacturing.
Wow, that's late. That's later than I thought.
Wow.
Yeah. So well done, James, on that. Round 3 was artificial intelligence, a bit of a sticky one according to the various facial contortions of the two guys. What do you reckon it was talking about? Harry, you can go first.
It's like a school portrait photographer studio, the person that just pops in and you have to line up for hours and then sit and fake a smile and get your picture taken.
James?
Well, I wrote down children's portraits.
I'm going to give it to Harry because it was a school photographer, specifically.
Specifically, we like specifically. Robbed
Well
on
done,
one question,
Harry.
gained on another.
James is speechless. I love it. All right, round 4 was take a wild guess. I asked you to tell me how much the world's most expensive camera is generally how much it was sold for, the world's most expensive camera, which is the Leica O series, number 105. What do we reckon?
Well, I know what
James?
Harry wrote because he just held it up.
Yeah, I know. Sadly. All right, James, we're counting on your honesty here.
I wrote down 20 million, funnily enough.
You wrote down 20 million.
There it is.
Harry
There's your
wrote
proof
down
that has not been rubbed out.
20. Yeah, I see that, yeah. Harry, what did you write down?
22 million. Just
You did 22.
He's such a toe rag. I know it'd be more than that.
Okay, James actually won that one.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was 14.4 million euros, so James was the closest.
Excellent. I win a point and I'm 5 million out.
So yeah, it was the lights camera, or do you actually know Leica is short for lights camera? That's where the name comes from. I didn't actually twig that. The first 35mm camera, and so it was owned number 105 by Oscar Barnack and was the prototype of the Leica that he owned. So yeah, 14.4 million euros is how much that was sold for. The final question, where in the world, the most photographed building, where do we reckon it was, Harold?
we were just discussing it in the news section. It's the Colosseum in Rome.
James, is that an assent?
It is the Colosseum. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think, anyway.
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand the lake bit. I didn't actually know that, but...
Yeah, no, that threw me completely, yeah.
It was, in fact, built on an artificial lake. It was built in 80 AD, could seat up to 80,000 people, although not in compliance with modern health and safety standards. The violent battles there banned around 435.
Neither was what went on in it.
No, exactly. It was partially destroyed by successive earthquakes, most devastating of which was in 1349 when the south side collapsed. So it was actually in pretty good nick up until then. But yeah, it was built on an artificial lake. I think it was about 72 AD actually, not 80. And it was apparently, I forget the name of the emperor at the time, but he wasn't a very popular chap, and he decided to build himself a nice palace. In the same area, after he was deposed, they decided to build on that same area. He obviously had an artificial lake nearby, and they decided to build basically a people's stadium for the people in the place. So
I mean, that's what it means, but I didn't know about the lake.
you both got the point, and that means
It's a draw.
that James, sadly,
Have I won?
has won
Yes.
that point.
Robbed.
That one. It was 4-3. 4-3 to James.
I was robbed on the children's portraits.
I was robbed on the year.
Here we go. Has there ever been a gracious loser?
It should have been 4-4. It should have been a draw.
Yeah, all right, fine. You can have, we'll share the points on the year, whatever it was. I've forgotten the question now. As long as I can have the children's portraits.
Definitely not. No.
Right.
It was a school photographer, and that's what it was. So you can just suck that up, and maybe you'll get better next time. Anyway, hopefully you guys got on okay on the pop quiz. If you managed to get better than whoever won, James, I've forgotten already. Do you know what, guys? I've got a list here. I'm going to just show you on my notice board. It's a running order of the. I can see how fancy I've made it. Here's the kind of running order of who's won and who's lost.
Wow.
No, we need to buy you a ruler.
Yeah, I was going to say, not even used a ruler.
So here we go. Who was it? This is June. Harry, no. James, yes. There's a no for Harry. Right, okay. James and Harry thus far are level on the annual
Who's
kind
losing?
Of quiz. Marcus.
That's
hugely.
what you need to say. Move on.
That's fine.
That's
yeah,
all
that's all we care about.
Next link.
That's all we particularly care about. Anyway, let us know how you guys got on. If you enjoyed playing along, you can get in touch. Of course, podcast at mc2photography.com.
The Photography Online Podcast in partnership with King Joy Tripods.
Yeah, as we always say, we are very excited to have King Joy helping us make this year's podcast possible. We all use King Joy's products, so we're really happy that they are supporting us this year. Last month, we told you that we were giving away the brand new C83S travel tripod, which costs £425 if you buy it new. That should be on our website as well now, or possibly if you're in the US, who knows what it costs. It could be double, it could be something similar, depending on what's happening right now. A few specs about the tripod. It weighs 1.9 kilograms with the ball head on, opens up to a maximum height of 1.7 meters, which I think will do most of us. Really compact though when it's folded up, just 58 centimeters long, and it really is not fiddly at all to use, unlike many other travel tripods. I was just saying to the guys before, just back from Ireland, myself and Marcus were out just a couple of weeks ago. We rent out these tripods to people who don't want to carry their beefier ones around. People always want to keep them at the end of the trip. They fit in a suitcase, but they're also super sturdy, so they really are a perfect travel tripod. And we did put a form up last month on the podcast. We had hundreds of entries, and I have all of them here. Now, we have built the podcast randomizer. It took a good deal of effort, let me tell you. I have trundled it out, so I've plugged it in. Let's see what happens. How about that? It works. It's given us a name. It is Keith Foster from the UK. Congratulations, Keith. You are the winner of our C83S Kingjoy travel tripod. I've got your details. I will get in touch with you. And if you would like to get one, because they really are excellent tripods, like I said, we've been waiting for stock to come into the website. They are, as far as I'm aware, there now. So do hop on there, mc2photography.com. Have a look at the shop. You can see what else is available as well in the Kingjoy professional lineup, including the larger tripods for when you're not traveling maybe too far. So check that out for yourself, or if you're listening internationally, kingjoy.com, you can find out your nearest dealer. All right, well, let's move on.
Listeners from an unlikely location.
Yeah, we like to say hello to listeners from unexpected parts of the world. Now, we've had a sudden surge, and I can't quite figure out why. Listeners in Washington State this month. Now, when I first saw this, I misread it as Washington, D.C., and I thought, ooh, this will be because we're talking about the tariffs on last month's podcast, and someone, an influencer in power, is going to get us in trouble. But no, Washington State. So it's catching up on California, which is our usual highest listening rate over there. Nearly 15% of our US listeners, though, now Washington State. So thank you to whomever is doing some ninja promotion over there.
All the Californians have gone north, Ruth. They've headed north.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yes.
They've crossed the border and they've gone north. Or maybe
I thought Trump might have been listening for a second. If it's in DC, who knows? Maybe he's sitting at his desk enjoying a bit of, pop quiz.
He presses his button for a Diet Coke, and then he presses his button for the Photography Online podcast.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. Anyway, unexpected locations. 2 people listening this month in Oman. And now I forgot to double check how to pronounce this, so apologies in advance.
Here we go.
Marhaban. Yeah, is that all right, James?
It's
Looking
pretty
like
good,
he knows if that's good. Yeah, that's Arabic, I believe. So marhaban to you both. But wherever you're listening from, as we say, we're always so chuffed to have you with us. Do get in touch. Let us know where you're listening from. Tell us about yourself. We're always interested. You can email podcast@mc2photography.com, or you can, of course, leave a comment on whatever platform you are listening on. Thanks for your comments, as ever, on last month's show, the podcast, the YouTube show. I was just saying earlier, we've had surprising not a lack of comments, but quite often when we've got, shall we say, slightly more controversial topics on the show, people delight to jump into the comments section. I think we're just a bit more easygoing last month. Most of the comments we got were regarding James's Forth Road Rail Bridge expression, which he mentioned on the show. Lots of people just saying, what's that then, James?
Listen, hands up. No, hands up. We got it wrong. Both Marcus and I. Me? Well, no, Marcus and I, because he wrote it. I got it wrong. We both got it wrong. Hands up. Apologies. But it's always nice, the little trolls out there that like to worry away at their keyboards. It's good to make the odd mistake, and it gives them something to do, doesn't it?
Well, that's the one way of putting it. Other than that, quite quiet on the whole comments front, which isn't a bad thing. We've got a couple of features coming up on next month's YouTube show, which we reckon we're going to get a lot of feedback in. So we'll let you know what's coming up just towards the end of the podcast. But we do always appreciate it. Do keep it coming. We're going to move on to our final feature of the show, and we're going to have a look at some stuff.
It may be new. It may even be exciting. But does the world really need it?
All right, Harry, what have we got first on our gear section this month?
Kicking off with quite a big one, in my opinion. So DJI drone company has released the Mavic 4 Pro, the upgrade to the previous model, the Mavic 3 Pro. Now, I normally wouldn't pay that much attention to drones. I'm not a big drone user. We use them occasionally for the show, but I don't own one. We generally just kind of steal one or find one to utilize. But this is a relatively big upgrade rather than just these little incremental things with a slightly new controller or something like that. But there is a whole new controller with the Mavic 4 which speeds up the whole process of turning on the drone, and so as you flip the screen up on the controller, that activates and the drone is much quicker itself to get turned on and get up into the air. That was always a bit of a gripe, having to press a couple of buttons on the drone, then turn the controller on, and it all links up, and then you start everything up. It's just a bit of a hassle. But also big upgrade to the cameras and the lenses, and particularly of interest to me is the upgrade to the telephoto lens. So the Mavic Pro drones for a couple of generations have had multiple lenses on them, both a standard lens, which is always around the 24, 28 mil range, a mid-range lens, which would be something like 70 millimeters, and then a telephoto, which goes in towards like 90 or just over 100 millimeters, something like that. And I do utilize drones with the tele aspect of the lens, and I've tried filming otters and wildlife on them, and it was all right, the quality, but you could always be better, and so it's really good to see quite a big upgrade to the resolution and quality of that tele lens, and especially on stills as well. So on the Mavic 3 Pro and some of the other ones that have those tele lenses, the quality of the stills just, it's not quite there. You really couldn't zoom in. They didn't resolve much detail, so you really had no ability to zoom in or crop onto the images or produce anything worthwhile of small objects. So I think it's going to be quite interesting seeing the telephoto applications of this, as well as a new fancy gimbal that spins all the way around. You can flip the screen around on the controller, and the camera on the gimbal of the drone will flip round correspondingly while it's up in the air, so you can easily switch from recording landscape to portrait orientation content really quickly, which in this kind of social media age is actually quite important. And it's then you don't have to try and awkwardly crop video footage. You can record direct in portrait format, producing content for big companies, for social media, and just an interesting big upgrade. So, though, of course, I don't know what the price will be on launch, actually. I haven't...
It's $18.79 on here.
Yeah, a couple of thousand-ish.
Yeah, not terrible. It's a lot of money to spend, but, if it's the sort of thing you use a lot, then I think worthwhile. And I'll be quite excited to see the applications and what people end up doing with this drone.
No longer will you need to go up in a hot air balloon, James and Harry, when you go to Africa. You will be able to just take a drone with you.
Except we don't take drones to those national parks because they're not allowed.
You're not allowed to fly drones there, yep. So it is the only way.
Yeah, so there you go.
Hot air balloon or DJI Mavic 4 Pro, your options for aerial photography.
Well, as I was discussing with Harry the other day about them, I'm actually thinking about getting one or two of them, but not for me to fly, for somebody for commercial work. And it is quite a big upgrade. The flight time's quite considerable on them as well, which is quite important. But what I would say is don't be, when you see it says 100 megapixels, yeah, that may be, but it's on a much smaller sensor. So it's not like having a Hasselblad in the sky, although it does have Hasselblad glass in it. But nonetheless, it is quite something, and be very interested to see the actual output of them. But they are also, it's worth just pointing out to people, they're above the 249 gram weight limit by about 2 kilos or something.
Yeah, it's a heavy drone.
So the where you can use them, I think you have to have a fully trained pilot. Is that right, Harry? I mean, I use a pilot. So
yeah. Now you got to have the certification, and
there's no way I would fly it, Ruthie. I might buy them, but I won't be flying them. Would you trust me?
I was going to say, are you buying two? Why would you buy two? Is it in case you break one?
There's a very good reason for that, actually. It's a very good point. Because they are so stable that you can actually run time-lapse from them. And I want time-lapse going in 2 different directions at the same time. So I can point towards the sun coming up above the horizon, and the particular building that it will illuminate. The other one is filming the building being illuminated, and you stack them, so you fly one directly above the other one.
Interesting. Anyway, DJI Mavic 4 Pro, if you're into your drones, I'm sure you're all over that, but there is links again in the show notes if you want more information on it. A bit more old school, James. What's our next gear item here?
Right, so it's some film, which you'd struggle to put in a drone. Let's be honest about that.
That would be cool.
We managed to put one in Loch Ness. Do you remember the last month's podcast? There was one down in Loch Ness for many, many years.
Oh, that was dragged up out. Yes.
Yeah, trying to find Nessie. So it's all right underwater. I'm sure you could cope in the sky as well.
Well, film, yeah. I once dropped a very expensive roll of 120 film into grapefruit juice, and all it did was fringe the edges. But if you dropped a memory card in, you'd be done for. So, yeah, that was a long time ago now. I remember the year. It was 1990.
Did you shoot the roll? I'm curious.
No, I did not. My boss shot the roll. I was labelling it.
That would have been interesting. It was already done.
Yeah, it was already shot, and I was labeling on it. I was writing a thing called clip test, rear end clip test
over
on it.
your grapefruit juice at breakfast.
And I put my grapefruit juice on the floor because my boss used to say, no drinks on the table. Just absolutely, it was a golden rule. So I put it on the floor, and I wrote this roll. I knocked the table, and it rolled off the table. And I just thought, oh, that was all right. It just bounced, and I heard a plop. I thought, no way. And it had gone straight in the glass of grapefruit juice. So. And
did you develop it?
Yes, yeah. It was fringed. It was fringed down the side.
Fancy.
Yeah. Grapefruit juice is clearly quite acidic, so something happened. But
okay.
Yeah, it was all right.
So what's this new roll of film, though, James?
So it's from Ilford, and it's called Kentmere Pan 200. Now, there's 2 or 3 things to mention about this. So Kentmere is Ilford's sort of more budget end of its film spectrum. I haven't personally seen any film, but I know our Neanderthal colleague Marcus, Mr. Analog himself, has actually shot a couple, but hasn't developed it yet. So it'd be very interesting to see how it turns out. But it looks like it hits a bit of a sweet spot, really, because already they do a 200. I beg your pardon, they do 100 and a 400 in 35mm and 120, and this is actually rated at 200. So
this is black and white, James, or one of their new colour ones?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, it is. I was just about to come on to that. So it's actually a black and white film, but it actually records across the whole colour spectrum, which I know seems a bit odd in black and white, but it means you get a great depth to your pictures and the potential for, real high contrast. So it looks really interesting. It looks really good. The thing about it also is that the price point, and it's available in 120 as well, and bulk for those that like to spool their own film. But it's the price point, and that's the really interesting thing. Now, when I was talking to Marcus about this, he sent through an email explaining to me, as he does, as we all get these emails occasionally, about how prices have changed from 1999 all the way through to 2025 in his very nerdy way. I won't bother reading it all because, honestly,
please don't.
People are driving, probably listening to this, and we don't want anyone falling asleep at the wheel. I
once had to listen to an entire podcast when I was driving in Spain from middle to the north coast of Marcus listening to someone discussing the various grades of photography paper. It was horrific. So yes, please don't read that.
But the bottom line is that most film, including Ilford FP4, has gone up by 92% since 1990. Kodak Gold 200 has gone up 160%. And this is me, cutting down on Marcus's long-winded email. Fuji Velvia 50 was £4.35 for 36 exposure roll in 1999. Today, it would be £27, which is an increase of 225%. Anyway, the bottom line is Kentmere 200 is priced at £5.90 a roll, which would have been £3.14 in 99. So it's kind of parity, really.
That's good. Yeah.
And that is just so exciting because it means that, one of the downsides, although I don't shoot any analog at all, I have no reason to. If I had more time, I probably would, but I don't have any real reason to. But I'm a huge, huge fan of it because it means, that youngsters and older alike, but particularly young people, are getting enthused by photography again. It's getting it back to its true roots. It's getting it away, and I know you can scan the and then process in Lightroom and stuff like that. But it's really making you think at the time of pressing the button. It's stopping photographers just playing around with the clarity slider to make their pictures look good. You've actually got to concentrate on why you take pictures, which is why I'm such a huge fan of the resurgence of analog. And this particular film makes it even more accessible to everybody because analog is can be expensive compared to digital. Although once you factor everything in, as we've discussed in previous times, it's not so much. But nonetheless, pressing the button and knowing that your 35 exposures to go, 34 exposures to go can be deemed expensive. But actually, if that is then deemed to you concentrating more and you think about why you're actually pressing the button, then I'm all for it. So well done, Ilford, for introducing this new film to add to their already pretty extensive range. It's good stuff.
So, James, when you have more time on your hands, whenever that may be, do you ever see yourself going back, picking up an analog camera and starting shooting film again? Forgetting Marcus's pleasure or otherwise, don't factor that into your decision-making process.
No. I would probably never shoot 35mm film again. But I can definitely see myself, which we might come on to shortly, using a waist level viewfinder Hasselblad or Rolleiflex or something and shoot 120. 100% I would do that, yes.
But 35mm, like you're saying, at this price point, a fantastic entry for people that are...
It is fantastic. It's just it wouldn't particularly be for me because of the sort of subject matter I would like to shoot. Okay,
well, this is the opposite end of the spectrum kind of item. But first of all, do we reckon the world needs it, the film? Yes, I do. I think the entry point is fantastic. And
just because it makes it affordable for people to get out and experiment taking proper pictures. Nothing wrong with digital, but this really hones the mind, hones the skills. So yes.
Okay. I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that Marcus and I just back from Ireland. This is not something I would normally have probably picked up on for this section of the show until day 3 on the Ireland trip when one of our customers' spectacles started speaking. And we realised that he was actually wearing a pair of AI glasses, Ray-Bans, very lovely, Meta AI glasses, which could in fact do many things you do not expect glasses to do. Now, Harry, I've got you down for looking at these. Have you ever seen a pair of these, first of all?
Not in person. Sorry, because they're not...
James, James has got a pair in his head. These are definitely not A, Ray-Ban, or B, intelligent.
No, these are actually original Ray-Bans that are older than Harry.
Old school. Sorry, Harry, carry on.
Well, as far as I know, these are not particularly new. They've been around for a couple of years. So, but say it's not really something I've paid much attention to. But the more I have a little look and read about them, there's stuff that's quite interesting about them and others which I just think is a bit silly. But I can kind of see certainly the potential in the future. So, the glasses have, I think, two cameras, one on either side. So as you're going along, you can record video or take pictures of whatever you happen to be doing. And in terms of like content creation or like behind the scenes kind of stuff, that's quite useful. If Marcus is doing film developing or printing or something, rather than having to try and set up an awkward camera angle, he'd simply wear the glasses and record what he's doing with his hands real time. That'd be great if you could load that in real time to our live show or something like that.
No, it wouldn't. It just wouldn't.
The world from Marcus's... Oh, God, no, actually, that's
it's bad enough when we forgot to turn off our microphones that we're wearing. Can you imagine what might happen with the spectacles? I mean, this chap who had them, lovely chap, I'm sure he was doing nothing at all nefarious with them. But the thing I find odd when you read about them is the fact that obviously you can take pictures with them and they look like a regular pair of sunglasses. People don't know. And now in the information video, they showed a chap saying, Meta, take a picture, and it took a picture. But if you read the details, you can also just press something to take a picture, which obviously is not audible. No one around knows that you're necessarily doing that. So I understand the idea behind them and that people kind of feel the need to do it because it's, why wouldn't you? But in terms of actual uses beyond the odd behind the scenes thing, I mean, it's just the idea that nobody knows what they are. They look regular. So that to me is the one thing that kind of freaks me out a little bit.
By the time this podcast comes out, Ruth, we're going to be in beautiful, sunny, hopefully, Spain. And now, my language skills are not particularly extensive. I just about manage.
Struggle with English.
Yeah, so I've just about got that down after more than 30 years on this earth. So, and what these glasses can do is translate in real time. So as you're speaking, and you can just hold your phone up to whoever you're chatting to, and they can see the live translation of what you're saying. I think you can do that without the glasses as well, using whatever, the Google app or whatnot. But it's just another cool application that you can have a live translation because the glasses have got a speaker, and so you can play stuff into your ear, music, whatever, and also picks up this translation.
So it goes via the phone, obviously. It's like
goes via the phone, and so whoever you're chatting to chats into the phone, and it plays straight into your ears. So they're not hearing the translation, and it's
like being in Star Trek, Harry. It's just like being in Star Trek.
Yeah, it's kind of real time. It's like my sort of reference would be The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, having a babel fish in your ear. I've always wanted one of them. Then you get a translation of anything in real time. It's kind of cool, some of the applications, and I mean they're not massively expensive. I think they're around £350, something like that.
Yeah.
Depending on the style and type of lens you go for, and it's just a little bit too expensive for me just to kind of splash out and think, just grab a pair of those.
So here's my question, Harry. If you had a pair, if you were bought a pair or whatever, and you wore them, would you tell people straight up that what they were?
No, of course not, because that's kind of that defeats the object of trying to slyly take pictures and video of people as you're doing stuff. So
I think in the end, Ruth, everyone will get used to this kind of tech in the end, and
no one will trust anyone with glasses on, basically.
I think this will be widespread. Everybody will end up having something like this. You'll have virtual overlays in the glasses, so if you're driving, you have it, overlaying your navigation.
I think you can, but I think it'll be like a novelty, and then they'll go away from it again, because these things do exist in other formats as well, and people, it is a novelty initially, and then I think people ultimately get kind of fed up of all the. I don't know. I would personally. I don't think I would enjoy it. James, just checking. Are you videoing?
Through my glasses? I mean,
Yeah.
these cost. I can get 4 of these pairs for £8 from Amazon.
Very nice. Anyway, that is the Meta AI glasses, which, as Harry said, aren't new, but just kind of came to mind as we had somebody with a pair recently on a trip. If you are interested, again, check those out for yourself. James, you talked about something that you were looking forward to discussing. This is on the I was going to say it's on the analog side of things, but not truly. What is this, first of all?
Yeah, it took a bit of figuring out, actually. It's called a Chunsao, is that right? Do you reckon that's right?
Let's say it is, yeah.
Who are you asking, James?
Chunsao. It's just a funny little twin lens reflex camera, although it's actually not a twin lens reflex camera, but it's an old style retro camera that's based around, for those listening that know what a Rolleicord or Rolleiflex looks like, it's that sort of thing. It takes it's miniature, so it fits in the palm of your hand, it has a waist level viewfinder, it takes very simple little digital files. I don't know, it says it's 55 quid, it takes 12 megapixel files. I mean, it's not a camera that is anything other than a trinket and a toy, but I can see kids having a bit of fun out of it. I can imagine my son's lady would quite like playing with it, and she's quite into retro stuff. So, but it's not a professional grade thing, but it is a fun thing. It looks kind of cool, so that would suit me with my Meta Wayfarer sunglasses on.
And you can look down at the waist level viewfinder and we can see what you're seeing.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, the waist level viewfinder is the thing that caught my eye about it, which is why I think we all found it independently actually and sent it to each other, but that's what caught my eye about it. There is something about using a waist level viewfinder. It is one of the best ways to compose pictures, although interestingly, most waist level viewfinders actually reverse the image because they don't have a mirror in them, but this one, because it's a digital, I presume it's a digital. Oh no, it must have a mirror. It's digital
masquerading as a. No, it's digital.
It's a digital screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not reversed. So for those that once upon a time learnt to use a reversed camera, this would probably be really weird. I'd quite like to hold one and see if I automatically go the correct way, which would have been the wrong way. But anyway, it's a bit of fun for 55 quid. You can't really go too wrong.
I love it, actually. I keep seeing it advertised, and I think I'm going to have to. But what I love is it still has the little crank on the side for what you would use to roll on the film, and they've done that, so it will switch it. If you turn the crank, it will switch it from photo into video mode, and it will start recording. I think it's just a short 6 or 10 second clip, something like that. You turn it once, and it will basically, it's like quick recording on your SLR or your mirrorless camera. If you just hit record, it will start doing a quick clip. It's kind of like that. You just turn the crank, and it will switch to video. It doesn't record sound or anything, but it's because it's all vintage style, it's all quite faded sort of style of imagery, and so the videos like that is kind of old home recording video style, and so for what it costs, £55. It's a bargain, a little thing, and it's something I would.
Harry?
Yeah, it's the sort of thing I would use because I've got a few Polaroid type cameras at home, and those are the sorts of things that I take along to social events and parties, and just think I don't take all the big camera gear. So this is the sort of thing I'd just chuck, and it's slightly smaller than a traditional rolly cord, and so it really can just fit in a coat pocket, and it's not too obtrusive.
I mean, I've had a look at some of the sample images, and to me they're fairly hideous and fairly obviously digital. If they did actually have a fade on it, like you said with the video, then I can see the appeal of that kind of old school aesthetic transferring over to what you actually get out of it. But the images to me look the kind of the worst idea of digital that you've seen. But I love the look of the camera. Like you say, the waist level viewfinder is a massive draw, just kind of playing with that.
And waist level viewfinders, Ruth, are really good for if you're like Harry and Harry likes to take sneaky pictures of people, which is why he wants the Meta sunglasses, and a waist level viewfinder is much the same thing, because especially in this day and age, people would have no idea. So I think that's for you, Harry.
I'm going to get one, yeah.
I like the idea of the waist level viewfinders, yeah. It's just, I need a camera with a flip out screen to do it. That's the one downside of my old school DSLR, doesn't have a flip out screen. But anyway, it is a fun looking little gift. As people were saying, it's kind of, kids probably wouldn't really know what it was alluding to. Adults would, so if you just fancy a wee novelty item, that's maybe something to have a wee look at. Our last item though, Harry, also not super expensive, but excellent quality out of this. What have we got as our final item this month?
Yeah, well, I love a good budget item, and this caught my eye because I've actually been looking for a new prime lens to do some commercial and portrait work on, and unfortunately this doesn't come with Canon RF fit or EF fit. This is by Surui, who are better known for producing all of their tripods, but they do have a range of prime lenses in various fits. So this is it's called the Surui Sniper, which is a bit of a worrying name to begin with, but it's a 75mm prime f1.2, which is lovely wide aperture. Now, it only comes in a fit for crop mount mirrorless cameras. So that's Sony E, the Fuji X, and the Nikon Z mount. So you can't fit it on any full frame mirrorless cameras, which is a bit of a shame. However, for what it's priced at, which is around $350, something like that, I've been looking at the sample images and it's mightily impressive. It looks perfectly crisp and sharp enough. I would imagine that the edges of frame are not going to be fantastic, but if you're using this lens for what it's designed, which is portraits, commercial type shoots like that, then the corners of frame are not going to be massively important. And having something that's as wide as f1.2 on a longer focal length like 75mm, especially on a crop sensor camera, you're going to get really beautiful out of focus areas, and the actual texture of the out of focus areas looks really, really cool. So if you happen to have a crop mount mirrorless camera, Sony, Fuji or the Nikons, I would definitely be looking at one of these lenses. They come in different colors as well, so you can kind of mix and match. It doesn't have a physical autofocus switch, which is becoming a bit more normal with some of the mirrorless lenses anyway, but that would certainly bug me a little bit. And they do have lots of other lenses in the same range, so crop mount mirrorless. So they've got a 16mm f1.2, a 23.
That would be good for astro, wouldn't it? In theory, it
would. Yeah. Again, would love a lens dedicated for astro. That would be perfect. And also 23, 33, and 56mm, all at f1.2, and all are individually below around the $350 mark. So
I was just reading this, actually, Harry, the 75mm version in this line is actually compatible with full frame cameras.
Oh,
there's only one in the line. That. Yeah, the only one in the line that actually is, but it says when used with a full frame camera body, it allows you to maximize that depth of field at an uncropped 75mm.
Oh, okay.
So the other ones don't, but this one apparently does. So an interesting one to play with by the looks of it. And looking at some of those...
Another reason to maybe get a Nikon instead or a Sony, who knows?
Oh. Harry's been on the edge for a long, long time, I think, of just flipping and just go. I reckon you'd go for Sony, Harry. You look like a Sony kind of man. No?
I just like flirting with the idea. That's the thing. It's like having an affair or something.
So, Ruth...
Yes.
Can you tell me what...
James, before you ask, you're a Nikon man.
I'm affiliated with nothing and nobody. But what is a Sony? You said, Harry, you look like a Sony. What is that?
That's why I was saying he looks like a Sony guy, you look like a Nikon guy.
Describe that.
I don't know.
Cool, hipster.
Have you ever seen anyone squirm? It's a shame we can't see this because Ruth's actually stretching and squirming and backing away from the microphone, and maybe the listeners could write in and tell us some descriptions of Sony, Nikon, Canon.
You get lots of interesting kind of cartoons and things, don't they?
That could be a future AI-generated question for the quiz, describing a typical Canon or Sony shooter. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Well, okay, there's an idea. Anyway, that is the Surui. Surui, is that how you pronounce it, Harry?
I would say Surui, but I don't know.
Surui. Who knows? The Surui Sniper 75mm and all the others in the line as well. So show notes if you want more information on any of the items that we've been mentioning on this month's feature, or the podcast indeed as well. If you want to check out any of the news items, feel free to do that. That pretty much brings us to the end of the podcast. Going to let you know what you can catch up on or watch indeed on the Photography Online YouTube show, our main show this month. We are continuing with the Great British Icons Photo Challenge. James and Marcus are in York. All I know is that there was a wench involved.
Yes.
Not sure if I want to see that, but I kind of think I do. It looked like fun in the promo last month. Marcus is showing us how to do an interior property shoot. This is a really interesting looking one if you want to get your Airbnb shots up to snuff, if you want to maybe go and offer your skills to some self-catering properties nearby. Join him on that on the show. And then Analog Affairs, we are finally getting round to looking at the inverse square law, which has been on the list for a very, very long time. So if you're an analog shooter, that should be of interest to you. So that's all coming up, or will be out, in fact, because it goes out on the same day as the podcast does. So check that out for yourself. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, for joining with the quiz. If you did that, don't forget, as I said, to get in touch. podcast@mc2photography.com if you want to pop us an email or drop us a comment on whatever platform you are listening on. But until next time, take good care, and most of all, take good photos.
You've been listening to the Photography Online podcast in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.